One thing that annoyed me when I used to consume content about self-improvement or starting new habits was the dismissiveness that these people telling you how great they are for going to the gym, for example, had towards anyone who lacked the discipline to get up off the couch time and time again and quote unquote put in the work. If you're watching this, I assume you know what I'm talking about. The just do it mentality. Get up and go do it. You just go to the gym. You just eat healthy. You just do. Well, what if this is my first attempt? How do I stay consistent? How do I keep showing up? You just do. There's really nothing more to it. And to be honest, I've been in that spot too. I've gone to the gym consistently, cut out sweets and sugars, stuck to my plan so intensely that it was borderline psychotic, the lack of freedom I let myself have. But my routine was so deeply ingrained into my identity that it was second nature. And seeing anyone else struggle to stay consistent was honestly kind of puzzling to me. It wasn't until some of those habits had slipped for one reason or another that I realized that the time to grind, get up and go do mindset is incredibly unhelpful to someone who had never even trusted themselves enough to brush their teeth twice a day or make their bed each morning. People who are just starting out need more than that. The good news is the fact that you're seeking out advice on how to make these changes stick implies some sort of desire to improve, which is always the first step. Having that desire and becoming aware of it in the first place. Think of a car and how you need to have fuel for it to take you where you want to go. When you pull up to a gas station, you normally have, what, 3 or 4 options right at the pump? What you put into your tank is what you use to propel you towards change. Shame, anger, wanting better for yourself, wanting to show people up or prove them wrong. There are a million motivations for wanting to get out of a given situation. And unfortunately, I can't predict what will be in your tank at the beginning. That's something you need to think on and feel out for yourself. But what I can do is share what worked for me. And for me, there were really two key motivators for actually pursuing change. The first one being desperation. If you haven't seen my first video, go back and check that out after this one, but I give a brief background on why I'm making this channel in the first place. One big reason is my battle with addiction. I was addicted to alcohol for years, and when I finally got sober, my eyes really opened up to how pathetic of a human being I was. The fog cleared a bit, and I got a clear look at myself in the mirror for the first time in close to a decade. I was fat, miserable, lost my sense of humor, and my appreciation for beauty. Books, nature, art, none of it had any value anymore, because my own ugliness made beautiful things repulsive. And for years, the only things in this world that were appreciated by me were the things that altered me and kept me from appreciating what really mattered. I was short-tempered, selfish, a bad friend, bad son, boyfriend, brother. I came to with years of missing time and the faintest memories of who I used to be and how I used to feel, how people used to want to actually be around me and enjoyed my presence. But that's all they were at that point in time, just memories. It had been years since that was true, and now I was virtually the exact opposite. I repelled people. Before, I would see my friends daily, and now I hid myself away. I was always athletic, in good shape, and now the person I saw in the mirror looked like they ate the old me. I was in pain, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Honestly, part of me liked it. I was comfortable there, or at least I knew what I had there. It was familiar. If I tried to get back to some semblance of my old self, there was no guarantee that I'd make it, and maybe I'd end up worse off. Those doubts are always going to creep in life, whether it's starting a new job or getting and staying sober. Those voices are going to whisper to you that you're not equipped for these things, so why even bother starting if you're just destined to fail? But in my gut, I knew that version of me was not who I really was. And that shame I felt looking in the mirror was proof of that. If that was who I was supposed to be, I would be content where I was. I would have self-actualized, become enlightened, reached my highest form, but I had never been so unhappy. And all those faint reminders I mentioned before, the memories I swore were true, that was the real me. And I was desperate to get back to that. Now, the word desperation gets a bad rap. If you've ever heard it, it's probably in the context of a relationship, like normally describing like a dude that is so desperate to get with someone, it just repels them, creeps everyone out, something like that, And that's the only context I had heard the word used in as well. And because of that, I think it's misunderstood. It's looked at as this negative thing when in reality, it is the most transformative emotion I've ever felt. Without the desperation to get closer to my old self and do away with everything I had become, I would not have even begun to plan a path forward. If I was not desperate, I wouldn't have started to change. The second thing was rage. Once I came to and became desperate to get back to me, I was enraged. How could I let this happen? How did the people around me not step in? The ex that ghosted me, the friends I don't talk to, God. It felt like everyone left me for dead. My own parents. Like each thing that I encountered was just another shovel full of dirt on the coffin that I was buried alive in. It just made it that much harder, that much more annoying to fight my way through. And each and every word, look, opinion, breath that I breathed made my skin crawl. It was a genuine self-hatred that I had never felt before. No one believed in me, partially for good reason. 99% of me was just waiting to die. But that 1% that still believed I could beat this if I just tried was still in there. To be clear, I do not think this is the ideal way to feel towards yourself, but I did then, and saying any different is just untrue. Like, what was I supposed to do when I woke up after wasting 7 years of my life? Like, just move on, give myself grace? Like, fuck that, dude. Everyone around me kept saying things like that. Forgive yourself, move on, take it easy on yourself. Like, why would I do that? Me almost killed me. That version of myself almost killed me. If I did what I did to myself to anyone else, they would bury me under the jail. And I'm just supposed to pretend like I was a good guy for the past few years? No, man. Like, I had to be honest. Continuing to be who I was will not get me to where I want to be. So I used that rage to eradicate any resemblance to the worst version of myself I've ever seen. I'm fat? Well, then I'm pissed until I get back in shape. I was a whiny bitch, so I took away my privilege to complain. You have to take back the reins. For me, I used that hatred to get the part of me that wanted to change as far away as possible from the part of me trying to kill myself. People feel negative emotions and think they're broken. But if I didn't feel negative about myself and where I was back then I'd be far more concerned than I was about the rage I felt. The hate and desperation did not last forever. At a certain point, you exhaust that fuel source. You work it out of your system, and when it's all gone, you'll look back in the mirror and see a completely changed man. And quickly, I just want to make the distinction. I feel like this shouldn't have to be said, but you never know. Anger, self-hatred, these things are never used to self-harm or harm others. The way I did it was literally shit talk myself to motivate myself. And finally break through this veil of lies I've been looking at myself and my life through and give myself a reality check. So for me, that looked like telling myself, honestly, I was a fat, pathetic human being. The part of me that wanted to change, that wanted growth, that wanted my life to resemble something it used to, and even better. That part of me was shit talking the part of me that tried to kill me for years. And that is that self-hatred. It's not a complete thing. It's your best self shit talking your worst self. We don't do that through violence. Do it through words and honestly looking at where you are. The answer is not to give up, not take the easy way out. It's to get so mad about the situation you put yourself in that you have no choice but to change. Lastly, I just want to address what others want and might expect from you. When I asked for help and got sober, it was initially not for me. My pain and suffering alone was not enough to take me out of that situation. It was not enough to make me go ask for help. It was being able to show up for the girlfriend who was struggling. It was so my mom wouldn't walk downstairs and find my body 3 days after I drank myself to death in her own home. But when I started recovery, on day one, they told me it had to be for me or else I would fail. And they asked me, they said, how much of this is for you and how much is for other people? And if I was being honest in that moment, I would have said 99% them, 1% me. And what I said was 80-20. Didn't make it clear what was for who, but they looked at me and they were like, good, right? Like 80 for you, 20 for them, right? Like, hopefully it's that because it will not work the other way around. And I was in no mood to argue. So I just said, yeah, like, sure. That's what I meant. Yeah. But my God, like, what a way to plant a seed of doubt. That was literally the first conversation in my year-long recovery program. Like, obviously, my motivations, regardless of what they were enough to get me to do one of the hardest things, probably the hardest thing in addiction, which is asking for help. And I did that. Who cares why? I looked my parents in the eyes and said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to die like this. I want to be better for all of you guys. At the time, I couldn't care less about myself, dude. And they were telling me that's not enough. Like, at least let me burn that fuel that got me there in the first place, and then have me change motivations later on. Because as of then, that was all I had. To me, I didn't care what they had seen work or what other people had, because I knew going into it what I had. And maybe my shit wouldn't work, but I was willing to take that chance. Because to be honest, I didn't really have much of a plan, but I knew asking me to use things, tools that I straight up just do not have, would 100% be a failure. Like, day one was not tinkering and optimizing time. It was fight and scratch and claw for your life until you've made up some ground. And then we can figure out what is quote unquote right. So if every motivation you feel ends up being reflected back to you as wrong, don't listen. Who the fuck are they to know what works for you? You know you. Trust you. Rely on that understanding of self to know what works best for you. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Like I just said, like, I didn't have much of a plan early on in recovery. I didn't think even a few weeks down the line. All I was worried about was getting my foot in the door, committing to this one thing, and I'd figure the rest out later. And when things started falling apart, when my parents lost trust in me, I stopped talking to friends, my girlfriend left me, the only thing I kept thinking was like, why is this happening? If only they could feel how I feel about this. If I could only articulate to them how certain I am that I'm gonna get through this, they would have none of these doubts. If you're watching this and you want to be told what to feel, like, I can't do that for you. What I can tell you is, like, honestly look at yourself in the mirror. Take out a piece of paper and write exactly who you are and what you are in this point in time, and everywhere you fall short of who you want to be. Be brutally honest, and that is the only path forward. Now, I understand that my situation may have been a bit extreme, but this really can apply to anything. Any habit or routine you want to begin, use the non-optimal to get your foot in the door and then change down the line. But build some momentum first, please, for God's sakes, and do not let anyone impede that progress. The only disclaimer I will make is that the only motivations that are wrong are the ones that are harmful to others. People talk so much about like getting revenge, but revenge in terms of getting jacked and successful is not harmful. Revenge in terms of slandering, physically intimidating or harming someone, mental or emotional abuse in any way, all that is not an option. And there is no room for discussion on that. End of story. But if your motivation is wanting to prove someone wrong, you're extrinsically motivated by things, meaning you're motivated by things outside of you rather than intrinsic motivations, which are things internal, like everyone tells you you should feel, then use the external, dude. It's not going to kill you. You'll just find that once it runs out, you might need to readjust your goals, set new priorities, or search for a different fuel source. But that's it. Get the ball rolling, and do not wait for the perfect source of motivation to come along, because it's not going to. Use what you have. That's how you build discipline. And I'm telling you, like, at the beginning, not a single motivation of mine was internal. I just didn't know how to do that. I couldn't. I had so much external motivation, and that's all I used. And now here I am 5 years removed, and virtually all my motivations are internal. So it's not impossible once you get going to change these. And hopefully you're able to see that for yourself. So my hope for you is that, somewhere down the line, someone's going to look at you and ask you, how do you do it? How do you get yourself to get up day after day and make yourself do things that you don't want to do, but you know are good for you? And I pray you have enough sense about you to understand they don't want to hear you say, oh, I just do it. What they're really getting at is they're asking how to start. How did you get your foot in the door? What did day one look like? How did you decide it was day one? And by that point, I hope you can look at them and tell them, I used what I had. That's all I could do. And it'll work for you too. Make sure to check out the other videos on the channel and keep an eye out for uploads in the future. we got plenty more where this came from. Planning on uploading pretty frequently here, so yeah, let me know what you thought below. Give me some feedback, and I look forward to seeing you around the channel. Peace.